Welcome to another installment of the Tim Woolley Show, starring our mayor, Tim Woolley. Glad to see you, Mayor.
Glad to see you.
You're our favorite mayor. Of course, you're our only mayor.
Yeah.
Today we've
By
got
default.
a busy agenda here. Okay, we're ranging from fundraising to street sweeping to development to street renovations, staffing to communication. Mayor, are you ready to jump in at the deep end?
Absolutely.
Okay, why don't we start with something that I know has been frustrating for you, and it's been frustrating for a lot of people. Let's talk a little bit about telephone traffic coming into City Hall. For nearly a decade, there's been a debate over how we handle calls, at times delays in people getting through. We've recently made some changes. You want to address what we're trying to do?
Yeah, our customer services center, that's where all the calls come into City Hall when people, and then from there, usually what we call a CRM is created and that is sent to the department.
Okay.
You know, there's definitely been some issues there with the amount of phone calls we get, the backup and stuff like that. So, you know, I've recognized that for quite a while. I'm preparing, you know, we're doing little things to prepare for bigger changes, you know, so, you know, but unfortunately there's like an obstacle or two that just kind of, you know, slow things down a little bit, you know, and, but I think as a whole, we're trying to do what we can to get these calls answered, as many as possible, but I will say this, that, you know, people can still use the iCare emblem is on there, and if you know, everybody's saying, well, iCare's not there anymore. You can still click on that, and that takes you to the link where you can go in and put your questions or concerns or complaints and stuff like that. So we still do have the online presence, which makes it a lot easier in the customer service center to, you know, move phone calls along. One of the other issues, you know, we've looked into this quite a bit, is some people are calling and wanting to conduct business over the phone that really needs to be conducted in here, in the building, you know. So we are making some changes. We're kind of using our DPW as the first step in a few steps down the road. So DPW is going to be, if it hasn't been done already, they're going to be on the queue to where people can press, you know, number 2 for DPW, and they will start fielding their own calls. So we're kind of using that as the testing ground, and we're moving in a direction where we think it'll be better for the residents and stuff.
Yeah,
but
I think that
there's still a little time there that's going to be, because, you know, we're looking to implement a new service in the City Hall, you know, in the city. You know, our IT operations and stuff like that, and we believe when we go with this new company, there'll be so much more stuff people can do online, like scheduling things, paying things, and so when we do that, we think that'll definitely free up more time in the customer service center. And, you know, long-term goal is to get everybody in departments. We'll still have a customer service center, you know, but it'll be downscaled, and more people will be in the departments to field calls in the departments.
Yeah, a lot of this debate, and I know you just touched on this, a lot of this debate centers on our own support systems behind our personnel.
Correct.
And, you know, we have somewhat of an archaic AS400 system back there, and a proposed switch to GovSense, and likely to switch to 2 other systems that you guys are looking at right now. That would help us, like you're saying.
So that's the road we're going down. You know, we you know, I can't touch on one of the situations, but we're looking at going to another company. So we're going to get moving in that direction, but we got to kind of wait on that a little bit before we start making bigger steps. You know, and it's frustrating on my part too, because I mean, I know I wouldn't be happy if I called and I had to wait 30 to 45 minutes. That's absolutely ridiculous. But, you know, I will say that we have very good employees in that department, but a lot of them are new. So trying to train people to know, when it was first created, you had many people from many different departments go in there. So there was a lot of knowledge to where most of those people in there worked in 2 or 3 different departments. And then if they didn't work in the one, that person usually sat right across from them, so they could just really get to questions and answer, and they knew they had a lot of knowledge. Now we got a group of people in there with just not a lot of background, not a lot of history with the city. So, you know, it takes longer to train and stuff like that. So I know it's frustrating, and believe me, I'm frustrated too, you know, so, but we're making strides to fix that.
The best people in those types of settings have a lot of institutional knowledge.
Yes.
You know, and unfortunately, you cycle through some of those people.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
You know, but we've had some changeover in there too. So, you know, we're getting some really good workers in there. You know, just recently we had one that came back to the city that worked for the city for quite a while and chose to move out of state, and then she came back and she's back working with the city. So that's great.
So at the end of all of this, no matter how long it takes, we'll probably end up with a better backup system, and we will probably end up with more calls getting funneled through to the department.
Yes, I think the long-term goal is to eventually, when you call the city of Taylor, hey, you've reached the city of Taylor, we're open from 9 to 5, and our address is this. For this department, press 1, this department, press 2, and then you can do that as opposed to going into one central pool.
Gotcha.
However, we're always going to have a central pool because there's going to be some people not sure which department they want, so there's going to have to be a 0. Somebody answers the call if they press 0. You know, and we're working on figuring that out as well. So,
switching gears, earlier this year we made a major change with street sweeping. Previously, we've been doing that twice annually, in the early spring and then in the late fall, basically. Now it's part of the regular schedule. That was one of the things that Ralph Richard put in right away. Can you give us an update? Because I know you know, a lot of people talk street sweeping this time of year.
I just talked to Ralph the other day to confirm everything, but literally it's pretty, you know, the rule of thumb is, you know, garbage day is where they really try, because all the vehicles are supposed to be out of the road. And so they really try to knock it out, and, you know, we're pretty much looking at an every other week situation to where if it's your garbage day today, you know, if they don't hit it this week, they're going to probably, you know, especially with this wind and weather outside we're having today, you know, so now they're going to ramp up to where they're going to try, and it might even be for that, but we're just basically going to say, plan on every garbage day. If they hit your garbage day today, then they'll probably hit it again in 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
You know, every other garbage day.
What kind of feedback have you been getting on street sweeping?
Oh, great. You know, I mean, that's one great thing that I had people, I've gotten quite a few messages that said, you know, it's been a long time since I've seen a street sweeper on my street, and residents want that. And I don't blame it. That's one of those little things that I just think we needed to start doing more, and we did. You know, we bought 2 brand new street sweepers a couple years ago, and we just, you know, we had a couple old ones back there that weren't being used, and for the amount of money that a street sweeper costs, we realized, hey, we can fix these 2 and we can do more quicker. So the newer machines move much faster, you know, but it's still nice to have 4 machines out as opposed to 2. You know, so that'll speed the process up, and I think people will see them even that much more as long as they're, you know, staying, you know, that those vehicles have a lot of mechanical issues, you know, so, you know.
Well, they always do, you know, slow-moving vehicles, same thing with garbage trucks.
All the brushes and the vacuums and everything, it's definitely
all the hydraulics on anything like that. We probably ought to tell residents, just as a reminder, don't push your leaves out into the street.
Our city, we don't do that. People are not supposed to do that with their lawn either, you know, but it does happen.
And that's what causes the clogs in the drains.
Do not rake your leaves into the street. You know, that could be a ticketable offense if you're caught doing it.
I hear you. I hear you. During an earlier episode, you and I talked about Chick-fil-A coming to Taylor. Where's that stand now?
I just got an update on that the other day. They're in the engineering phase, so that's still moving along, and
it's good to hear.
You know, once they're engineering, you know, the permits kind of always make me a little nervous right now, you know, because it seems like all permitting coming from, you know, other places are kind of slow.
Exactly.
But yeah, they're still moving. They're coming.
Looking forward to it.
I am. Yeah, it's been. You know, I'm like I said, I used to eat it quite a bit when I lived in Texas. You know, and then when I had that reunion a couple years ago, and we got down there, that was one of the first places me and my buddy went. So, yeah, I mean, it's just you know, it's another choice for people out there. You know, if they don't they don't like it, they don't have to go. If they don't like their politics or whatever, they don't have to go. But it's more of a choice for people out there, and I think that's a good thing.
I saw recently that UniFirst is also in the midst of building out their new headquarters on Inkster, just south of the Oakwood Group there. High price development, keep a lot of important jobs in Taylor. You got to be satisfied.
Yeah, I drove by there. It looks like they got the elevator shaft all up, and walls are going up and stuff. So yeah, it's exciting to see. And I think, I can't remember if I've touched on this before, but me, Mayor McCray from Romulus, Wayne County, and a couple other people are trying to get the we're trying to make Inkster Road a Class A road. We'd like to see Inkster a 5-lane road, all the way down. Right. And I think that would just really spark, there's a lot of open property along Romulus and Taylor side. So me and Mayor McCray has talked about it many times with Wayne County, just trying to get that a Class A road. And I think that would even open the door for a lot more businesses to come down that area.
That's something that goes kind of unsaid sometimes, is relationships between the mayors of communities. You obviously have a decent one with McCray, who just came in too. Any others that you've really?
Yeah, it's kind of been great. I mean, me and I call him Bobby, but Mayor McCray, we were friends prior to being elected.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
And actually, we didn't realize we were both running until, probably 3/4 through the thing, and we kind of were rooting each other on and stuff. But I have a really great relationship with Mayor Bozzi from Dearborn Heights, Mayor Swift from Riverview.
He's a good guy.
We tend to go to a lot of the same things and stuff. So, but everybody, I've met the mayor of Flat Rock, great guy. I met the mayor of Dearborn, great. Allen Park has a great mayor. I deal with her quite a bit at the DUA meetings and stuff. So at those DUA meetings, I meet a lot of the city managers, a lot of, Jeff Dobeck's the new city manager in Riverview, or interim, But yeah, luckily, it seems like everybody gets along really good. And, me and Mayor McCray and actually Mayor Bozzi, Mayor Swift, we bounce things off each other.
Right.
We call each other. And hey, how do you, in this situation or whatever, and so.
And good ideas, nice. Good ideas and new developments and things like that. They whether they're on your side of the city line, which is great if it happens, but if it's in Romulus or in Southgate or in Dearborn Heights, it's still a benefit to the
and that's what Mayor McCray talks about a lot. He gets a lot of, Romulus gets a lot of airport stuff.
Sure.
But it benefits all of us because it's probably a 75% chance that people from Taylor are going to be working in these businesses and stuff like that. So it benefits our area, So that's why we talk and we work together and stuff like that, and we root each other on, because we know that it's a good chance that some of our residents will be working in these facilities.
Sure, exactly. I understand you're hearing about the possibility of some new development in the Traders Point area.
The Menards area. Well, the good thing is I am hearing there's more movement there. I can't touch on anything yet because it's hearsay, and I've always said until they submit plans, I'm not going to talk about it or whatever. But it does seem like there's some interest brewing again. Like I said, there was always kind of a slow down a little bit because Menards does own that property. So people have to work with Menards to if they want to build there, and then there's parameters on that, which I think deterred a lot of people. But I've heard that's loosened up a little bit, and so I'm hearing more and more that this person, this group is looking in that area. But until I get the
Until you get the high side.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Until Laura gives me the go-ahead to talk about it, that's when I...
well, there's no doubt that is valuable property there. Because you're talking about 75 in Eureka, you can get to Canada in a hurry.
Absolutely.
You can get to Monroe County in a hurry. That kind of transcends a lot of other destination points in town.
And the one thing, I get a lot of people, we need this, we need that. We do cold calls. George Sutherland, our economic development, he does cold calls. Right. We can't force somebody to come here, especially if we don't own the property.
Right.
So we want. There's a lot of things that I'd love to see here. But we've called, and some businesses are either maybe not. Adding more stores at this time and stuff like that, or we at least try to get our city put on
their list.
On the list,
Yeah,
absolutely,
exactly.
on their radar, so to speak.
Residents have obviously noticed that the Goddard and Pardee projects are now done. They're newly striped, look pretty good. We now have Goddard and Pardee roads newly paved all the way through the city of Taylor. But you were telling me earlier that our concrete and asphalt projects are continuing right now. What are you seeing? What do we have?
Well, I know Pardee is not completely done. They still have to do like some crosswalks.
Okay.
And
Alrighty.
I think I talked to Chris Gibbs, our city engineer, the other day, and he said that it would be completed by next week for sure.
Oh, okay. All right.
Depending on the weather.
Okay.
So yeah, that's like 98% done.
Right.
So as far as new projects, they're doing some panel replacements with cement in some neighborhoods and stuff, and I actually brought my list with me here because there's quite a few. So these are going to be asphalt resurfacing, and these are going to be basically by neighborhood, that I'm going to read.
Right.
So now this doesn't mean how I read them will not determine the order in which they're going to be done.
Okay.
But what happened was me, Ralph Richard, our DPW director, and Chris Gibbs, our city engineer, we got our PACER rating, and that PACER rating map shows all the streets in the city of Taylor, and they're color coded by worst to best.
Right.
So we literally got in a truck and drove around, and I wanted to see all the worst streets.
Okay.
So that's what we're focusing on.
Okay.
And there was no doubt when we drove into these areas, these were the worst in the city. Now there's some others that still need work, but these are, I'm focusing on what needs to be done. I don't care how many people live on that street. I don't care. Some of these streets, in my opinion, probably should have been done a while ago. So, the first batch is, it's the neighborhood, it's just west of Holland, and it would be south of Wick. And so that would be Hazel from Wick to the dead end, Princess, Wick to the dead end, Glennis, Wick to the dead end, Basque, Princess to Holland, and Hague, Sylvia to Holland.
Okay.
So we're tackling neighborhoods.
Okay.
The next one is Westlake, which is Hague to the dead end, Cherokee, Hague to Baker, Vivian, Hague to Baker, Gully, Baker to the dead end, Wilkie, Hague to Baker, and Baker Street, Beach Daily to the dead end. Okay. That is the neighborhood. It runs east off of Beach Daily, kind of tucked behind Pat Park.
Okay, yeah.
And then the other area is over here off of Pardee and Goddard, McKinley area. So McKinley Street, Golden Ridge, Pardee to McKinley, Maple Lawn, Pardee to McKinley, Clinton, Pardee to Maple Lawn, and Lincoln, Maple Lawn to the dead end. They were in that area, but they didn't, for some reason, it didn't get finished, so we're going to complete that neighborhood.
Right.
And that's what we're kind of doing at the next one, which is down further north line by Allen pretty much, and that is Waddell, North Line to Empire, and Jackson, which is North Line to Empire. So those are the streets that we're going to start doing. I think they're going to get ready to start those projects here probably within the next week or so. But I don't know actually which neighborhood they're going to start with. So those are things, and if we have any leftover money, we're going to tackle some other streets that we just can't afford to do in this budget year.
You're about around and about all the time. Okay, I know you. When you went out for the PACER rating, did what you see surprise you, or did you expect to see worse?
No, I mean, I will say that some of our roads that were the worst, rated the worst, were definitely.
They just
it was
jumped
like,
out
wow,
at
and I knew some of them. Like, I cut through Pat Park sometimes to get into the other neighborhood. That's where Dan Bazura lives, on the other side of that. But, just driving through there, I think it was Vivian Street was just
that
horrible,
bad.
and it's literally, it's not even really blacktop, it's more gravel now, you know. So we need to get in there and take care of that, and so that's what we're doing. And I am looking at streets quite a bit. I drive around, as you know, during the week, on the weekends and stuff. So I'm always looking, and what we can improve on, but doesn't always mean I have the money to do it.
Yeah, it all comes down to that. Where do those 2 points be?
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're trying to really go through and okay, we're going to do this here, and then let's put this next, and we're always creating like a checklist, so to speak. And, when we knock one down, the next one moves in. So.
As far as, we've done a lot of road construction and repaving and stuff like that. From what you've seen, are you surprised with the quality of the work that's being done?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I know it can be a hot topic sometimes, but the groups we did, I think they did a great job. Is it Kent? I'm skipping my mind who did Pardee, and was it?
That was the outside contractor, I thought.
Cadillac?
Something ABC? No,
I can't remember.
I can't
but they
remember
did a great
myself.
job,
and
everything looks good. We went through, and I think there's just a few little things on the punch list. Chris said, they did do the striping, but they got to do at the lights, the block, at the stop block, and then crosswalk over by the elementary school there.
Right.
So there's a few spots they need to hit and stuff, and they went in and fixed the any grass that they tore up and stuff like that. So I think there's just a few more things, but yeah, as a whole, there's nothing that really, other than a while ago, the whole Superior Road thing. And that's why I just said, enough's enough. Let's just redo it all, instead of continuing to pour money in a broken project, and that's been great, and I think it's going to be beneficial for the new high school. That was one of the main reasons, and more people are using that to get from Telegraph to Pardee by the mall.
Well, and the other issue with that is that's inside a Tifa.
Yes, so we were able to get, part of it, it's kind of crazy because it's Tifa, there's a patch where it's us, and then there's another. So luckily Tifa and council approved all of it, so we were able to get it done, and I think it looks great. I think they still have to do some painting on that road, like the bike lane and all that stuff. So
are the bike lanes going back in?
Yes, we have to because we received a grant.
To do the bike lanes.
So we definitely have to put that back in.
Gotcha. There. Okay, that makes sense. Let's talk personnel for a minute. New police department hiring campaign seems to be doing overwhelmingly well.
Very exciting. Yeah, I'm very excited about that, and I think so far we did an initial 2, and then I think the last group there was 6.
There were 6, yes.
And I think the next group is, I believe, 8. It's anywhere from 6 to 8.
Right.
We continue to have people putting in for that, and it's going to get our numbers back up to where I think everybody will be safer and happier.
And the other issue here is these aren't just newbies who are being hired.
They're seasoned officers.
Yeah, exactly.
They do have to go through a training thing, but because they've been officers, there's parts that they can kind of skip over or just go through a little bit. But it was nice. I saw one of our new ones on the road the other day, so it was it's nice to see that. And talking to him, he couldn't be happier to be here.
Well, our numbers they were phenomenally down for a lot of different reasons. I mean, between the pandemic, between some of the situations, the national tenor, toward law enforcement and stuff like that.
Well, somebody being, my prior life, I get it. You get kind of set in something, and to change jobs, back in, that's a kind of a scary thing to do, especially when it was, if a police officer was going from one department to another, they were going to take a pay cut.
Right.
So I'm losing my seniority, I'm losing pay. What's the incentive to do there? Now they're coming over because they're not losing their pay. They're losing their seniority, but they also see it as an opportunity to, hey, I'm not going to lose money, and I think I'm going to like it over here a lot better. And talking to some of the officers that came from other cities, they're very happy here. And I'm glad to hear that.
Right, and that's just a good thing.
Yeah.
And I know the people who've been here, the commanders, the chief, things like that. They're tickled to see new bodies in here. And
they come in usually. Commander Levedini brings them over to my office and meet. I meet with all of them. When they go, start the onboarding process and stuff. So it's nice. I had to laugh the last group. I couldn't believe how young they looked. I just kind of started to chuckle a little bit. So. But it's good to see. Our department is growing. It's becoming much more diverse, and it's moving in a great direction, I believe.
Well, especially with these last hires, I mean, the diversity obviously jumps out at you. You see, and you're going, hasn't happened.
And I mean, it's a good thing because we're hiring what we believe are the best officers.
Right.
And so it's, but it is nice to see, that everybody doesn't look alike.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Carrying on with personnel, those aren't the only new faces around the city in the police department. Let me throw some names at you.
Sure.
You give me your impressions.
Yep.
Chris Klimchuk,
Yep.
who is our new community development director.
Yep.
He's been around.
He ended up actually when he reached out to us. We made a change and we had put it out there, and he was just retiring from Dearborn Heights.
Right.
And he brings a ton of knowledge, which it's great to have in that. Because HUD and everything is very, very. You got to know what you're doing.
Right.
Lots of paperwork.
Right.
So we were very happy to get Chris, and he's been doing a great job, and really.
Yeah,
happy to have him.
really helps when you bring a veteran into that situation because obviously the feds were looking specifically at that department. So you bring in a veteran like that, and Chris very much. This is the way it is.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, and there was things like we said, hey, you bring a lot of experience. If we do something that make it yours.
Yeah. Exactly.
And stuff. So he's been really good to work with. He's done a great job.
How about Alec Grant?
Alec Grant has done. He's been another one. We brought him in. We were looking for somebody to take over our golf courses and run our golf courses and stuff. And we got some great applicants. And but Alec just had. The golf course degree. He worked at golf courses and stuff like that.
He's a local guy.
He is, and he's doing well. He's doing really well.
That's good. And you also
golf. We're seeing it in the numbers, which is good.
Which is
and
always important.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know you brought back Carly Wood.
Yes.
And Carly she's enthusiastic.
Well, I'll tell you, another superstar, and very lucky because. She worked for the golf course in a higher position that she was in, and then chose to go into the career she went to school with. The one thing I noticed is that for some reason, people that work in golf that leave, they want to come back. They really enjoyed it that much. So Carly was lucky, or we were lucky, I should say, that Carly wanted to do that and was even willing to take a lesser role than what she came in or what she left as.
Sure.
And absolutely phenomenal over there.
And she seems to be, she's excited to be back. You can tell.
Oh, and everybody that's a regular golfer there, including my dad, was elated to see her. So it was, she's got definitely a fan club over there because people just always thought that, they were hurt when she left, so they're glad to see her, and she's doing a phenomenal job over there. I'm very, very happy with her.
Last but not least, Darren Grabowski.
Yeah, Darren. This was kind of a tough one for me. As you know, our purchasing manager decided to leave. He went on to a bigger company and stuff, and we wish him all the best. He did a good job while he was here, and so we were kind of thinking what, we got to find, we buy a lot of stuff, so we got to have somebody in that department as quick as possible. Jason's busy enough, let alone have to do that. So, I was kind of, it was funny because his name was one of the first ones that popped in my head as a possible.
Okay.
But it was kind of hard for me too because Darren has done such a great job at the Sportsplex.
Sure.
It's like, do you really want to take somebody?
Right.
But you know what? Then I found out Darren was interested.
Okay.
So Darren has a finance, economic background.
Economic
so
background,
by all means, I'm not gonna, if somebody he wants to go into that, and Darren's another great one. He's, I mean, he's proven it over at the Sportsplex. But it was a little scary, But the good thing is I've, mentioned to him, hey, if we have a crisis, you're gonna have to, pull double duty until we get somebody to kind of, that's going to be our permanent manager over there and stuff. And he was all, all for that. He's like, Tim, that's still my baby over there. And believe me, the last thing I'd want to do is to see it, go down.
Cool thing is, you look at all these, Chris, Alec, Carly, Darren, they're all real team players.
Yeah.
People that you could take aside and say, hey,
it was funny because, me and Ralph Richard was just talking about this, and then, Guido over in sport, the people we're getting hired in are really, really good workers.
Yeah.
And that's that's great. I mean, it seems like we're really our batting average is pretty good,
Yeah,
on new hires and stuff.
Which
and
is
so
really, that's
it
good to
is.
hear.
In this day and age, trying to, we're still looking, we're always hiring. So if anybody's looking for work, definitely check out our website, staff at the golf course. We're always
Sure.
looking for player assistants, especially teenage high schoolers. Great opportunity,
Right.
servers at the golf course, players assistant. Golf is winding down, but we're going to probably move, which we normally do is
Right.
normally some of our golf course workers go over to the sportsplex because hockey season's right
Sure.
now, and stuff. So, but yeah, we're getting a lot of great workers, and that's pretty good. We want people that want to work and that want to, and we're getting that for the most part,
Right. We're also going to transition into new supervision in human resources.
Yes.
Correct. What
Yep.
can you tell us about the
Well,
transition?
we're still we're looking. We definitely narrowed it down. We were going to put it out, but when word got out, we got flooded with resumes
Really?
and stuff like
Okay.
that. So,
which is a good thing.
yeah. So, me and Dan has been sitting down, going through those, and really doing our due diligence, and we're down to a few.
Sure.
You know.
Well, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Do you put a deadline on those type of things, or you just wait till you feel comfortable?
Well, we basically, I think we've gotten a good enough amount of candidates, so to where, unless somebody was to send something in, like that really, but, I think we're good with the amount of people that we've.
Well, the other thing is that with human resources, most of your people down there are veterans. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
that's
things
the thing.
can move
And
on.
I've met with them and told them, hey, I talked to them about how I envisioned the department to work,
Okay.
and stuff, and they seemed all, on board and everything. And when we hire our new director, we'll sit down with that individual and basically, I want it to be, customer friendly.
Sure.
I want it to be, especially for our workers,
Right.
because at the end of the day, when you have an insurance problem, when you have a payroll problem and stuff, that they're the people you got to deal with. And
Right.
so, I know I used to get bothered if something wasn't right with my stuff or whatever and stuff, but there's some. And I think, it's kind of one of those double-edged swords, I know, HR gets blamed for, and stuff like
Right.
that. So,
Right.
I see it from both sides now too, So, but, we're going to change it up a little bit, but, hopefully we're going to bring in the right person and things, improve, as
Take
I
off
say,
from
everything.
there.
And you know what? Sheila did a phenomenal job. She really did. So much knowledge. That was the thing
Right.
with her. I was always blown away with how much she knew, and she had a busy job too. She was involved in a lot of things,
Right.
And stuff. And I thank her for all her years of service here.
Well, that's fantastic. I know you wanted to get a plug-in for the annual Junior League World Series fundraiser at the Lake House Bar and Grill at the Lakes of Taylor Golf Course. When's that coming up?
Yeah, I was told to mention that.
You were
from the office
instructed.
next door. And but yeah, usually it's always the day before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So it's normally Jeff Pizzo and Dan Bazzura behind the
Okay.
bar,
Okay.
and all the tips go to the Junior League World Series
Sure.
and stuff. So it's usually a good crowd in there. I think that's considered the busiest bar night in the United States. So it's always a good time. It's an opportunity for people to just sit down and have good conversations, and it was nice to have the World Series back again this year.
Sure,
it was a great tournament.
Right.
People don't always like the results, but it is, it is not a city thing. It is a little league thing.
Yeah.
We don't govern that. We don't. We just provide the field. And so everything went well. I think weather was good for the most part and everything. So all the volunteers, I appreciate them. And as I said before, they're always looking for volunteers. It's usually, 2 weeks out of the summer, and then just a fundraiser here or there throughout the rest of the year. So if you're interested in volunteering for that, reach out to Dan Bazzura or the Little League World Series.
Right here at City Hall. Are you ready? You ready to transition into your first busy holiday season as mayor?
Yeah, well, I came into one, last year.
Right, yeah.
But it was, we're got a lot of things going.
Right.
It seems like I looked at the schedule. We got Hallapalooza coming,
Right.
and then I think we did push back the lighting. I think a lot of people are very happy with that. I know the employees are happy about that because they don't have to work on the holiday weekend now.
Right.
And that was one of the first things that me and Guido and Chelsea talked about, and we decided to move it back to the week after Thanksgiving instead of, because a lot of people are traveling that weekend, and it just makes it easier. The employees get to spend more time with their families on that weekend, and from a city perspective, it's cheaper.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
To pay a lot of people on a holiday weekend can get a little expensive. So,
Without a doubt.
that was another point. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be good. And of course, I always enjoy that. And then we're going to do the winter, the winter walk or
all of that stuff is going to go on.
And we expanded the days this year, by a little. And so, Cone Lake will be blocked off for, I think it's a week to 10 days or something, as opposed to the few months.
But the rest of the park won't be.
No, the rest of the park is open. And then just because even like before it actually opens, the fences will be up. But both Guido and Johnny told me to let everyone know that just because the fences are up does not mean that the walkways are closed at that time.
Right.
That area will not close until that stroll actually starts.
Gotcha. And I know there are like 5 days of the stroll this year.
I think it might be a little more than that. I think it's like maybe a Thursday to the following weekend.
The following weekend. Yeah, exactly. You ready for deer season?
I'm getting there. I'm definitely chomping at the bit to get up north. This cold weather and the leaves falling definitely gets me in that mode. So I'm definitely going to try to get up there here as soon as possible. But it's going to be a little while. I think.
Who do you hunt with usually?
Mostly my brother.
Okay.
My dad bought. We have 40 acres up between Ludington and Muskegon on the west side. My dad bought that probably 25 years ago. My brother ended up buying it from my dad because my dad doesn't go up there as much.
Sure.
So, but yeah, my brother owns the property, and it's normally me and him, and then we call him our stepbrother Wayne. He lived with us for many, many years, and so he's kind of a brother by fault,
Sure.
And so, it's a group of us, and then we got an old neighbor coming up with us this year too. So it's usually a hodgepodge of different people, but for sure it's me and my brother usually. But he probably doesn't sit in the woods as much as I do.
Some good rewind time. I know you've always appreciated that.
I love it, yeah. And I tell people that all the time. I know hunting's considered a bad word to some people, but literally just sitting in the woods is one of the best, things for me, and I don't always take one, when I can, and so, depending on the year and depending on what my freezer looks like, because we do, my family, we eat it.
Sure.
And but I do enjoy getting out there, and I love nature and I love animals, but I'm not afraid to harvest one here and there.
All right, fantastic. You want to give any pats on the back or shout outs to anybody or any?
I always forget about this
orgs?
question.
I know. I always forget about the question, so you don't get a primer.
Well, this time I'll probably throw it to the clerk's office. They're going through a lot, right now. It's definitely that busy time of year. Elections are going on. It seemed like it was going to be a calmer election, but then they threw, abortion and marijuana on the ballot and stuff.
Exactly.
So that definitely is going to ramp the numbers up and stuff. Where, Cindy's. They're working hard, and unfortunately, she had an employee in her office that went to another. So we were, we just said, she usually has 2 temps, and I'm like, listen, we'll give you another temp, and then once the election's over, we'll figure that position out.
Sure, exactly.
And she was glad about that. So, with the equipment and everything, it's definitely, but. With the add-ons here lately, for this election, kind of made it busier, and so. She's gearing up for it, but Sarah and that department over there and Cindy, they work their tails off, and that's not an easy job. I tell people all the time.
Yeah,
you want to see organized chaos. Watch an election.
Yeah, exactly.
It's insane. It's so busy.
But very good. Well, I'll tell you what. It's always a pleasure to have you here at the Media Center. Another good episode. A lot of answers to a lot of interesting questions. We hope people out there watching enjoyed the show as much as we have. For Samantha Rickard and Joe Camilleri behind the scenes, I'm Carl Zymak. We'll catch you on another episode of The Tim Woolley Show.